Your Honor, good morning. This is the jail. If I may, Your Honor, I have a request this morning. Mrs. Benson, she's on the felony side, number 1.
Yes.
She's requesting an interpreter, and is there any way we could get her done first?
It looks like we have Mr. Davis here available. I don't mind taking her first. Looks like Mr. Poston just joined. I will tell you, Jail, we don't see you though. We may have to rejoin. I don't know. This happens sometimes for us. We can't get you up on our screen. We can hear you, but we can't see you.
On my screen, the picture's up.
Yeah, I know this happens sometimes. The technical thing on our end sometimes. Trying to get to work.
Your Honor, this is the court interpreter. I'm able to see the jail chair at the microphone. I can see the staffer at this point. And about Ms. Benson, is that a Spanish-speaking interpreter that she's requiring or requesting, Your Honor? Otherwise, there's no other matter. Benson?
JL, can you clarify? Does she require a Spanish interpreter?
That is what she's requesting, yes, Your Honor. Can you see us yet?
Not yet. We're still working on it. But I don't mind taking her out of order, but I would like to try to get the visual in our courtroom figured out. We may have to log back in and out maybe. But
Okay,
if you want to,
know which one, Your Honor.
yeah, if you want to make arrangements for her to be brought up first, we can.
You let me know when you're ready, Your Honor.
Will do. We just rejoined. We're still not. I don't recall why this keeps happening this way. There is something I think we figured out before. We'll hopefully get it up in just a moment. There we go. All right, perfect. Okay, we can see the jail now, so I think we're good to go. We do see Mr. Poston there as well. Although our feed here in the courtroom is just going to have the jail, I think, but we know you're there, Mr. Poston. Thanks for appearing.
Can you hear me now, Your Honor?
Yes, we can. Okay, so would Mr. Davis, would you please request the defendant to introduce yourself?
Señora, habla el intérprete. Por favor, presentes ante el juez dando su nombre completo, legal y completo. Y en voz alta, su nombre completo, por favor.
Diana Mary Benson.
My name is Diana Mary Benson.
Ms. Benson, please give us one moment to pull up your file and then we will get started.
Señora Benson, permítanos un momento mientras retiro su archivo del ordenador y empezamos con su caso.
Ms. Benson, you are here today on what's called an initial appearance. Did the interpreter hear the court?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I had myself on mute. Señora Benson, se presenta aquí el día de hoy para su comparecencia inicial, lo que se llama comparecencia inicial. Thank you, Your Honor.
And you're here based upon issuance of a felony warrant from San Jose, California. I'm sorry, from just one moment. From looks like Santa Clara County, California.
Bueno, se encuentra aquí por orden de detención del condado Santa Clara en California. Es por un delito mayor.
You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. And you do have a right. And you have a right to assistance of counsel. There is counsel seated next to you to assist you.
Tiene usted derecho de guardar silencio. Cualquier cosa que diga podrá ser usada en contra suya. Tiene usted derecho a tener representación legal y tenemos un representante de abogado de oficios al lado suyo esta mañana.
The state requests the court set some amount of bond in this matter. Mr. Poston, any additional details? And let's wait for interpretation before you respond.
El fiscal pide algún tipo de fianza para su caso. Voy a preguntarle al señor Poston si tiene un comentario adicional que ofrecernos. Go ahead, please.
Your Honor, given the fact that the warrant does not have an amount, the state was initially inclined to leave it to the court, but at this point, the state would request $3,000.
Señor juez, la orden de detención no indica ninguna cantidad requerida por el condado que la procura. En vista de eso, iba a pedir algún tipo de fianza, es decir, dejárselo a su criterio, pero de hecho pido una fianza de $3,000.
And Ms. Adams, would you like to be heard?
Señorita Adams, un comentario suyo.
Yes, Your Honor, we'd ask for a nominal bond to be set in this case and for an extradition hearing.
Sí, señor juez, pedimos que se establezca una fianza de una cantidad nominal y que también que se programe una audiencia ante el tribunal para declararlo de la extradición al estado que lo procura.
Just one moment. I'm reviewing the warrant to see how many additional details.
Un momento, estoy revisando la orden de detención para ver cuántos detalles puedo discernir.
Because it is unclear whether there's been a conviction in this California matter,
Bueno, porque no está de lo más claro si ha pronunciado una condena de culpable en este asunto de California.
the court will set bond in this matter in the amount of $2,500 cash or secured.
Puede establecer la fianza por la cantidad de $2,500, ya sea en dinero en efectivo o garantizado por propiedad.
The court will appoint the Pima County Legal Defender's Office to represent the defendant.
Voy a representar al abogado de oficio del Departamento del Defensor Legal del Condado Pima para que se encargue de la defensa de la acusada.
And the court will order that if bond is posted, the defendant shall appear at the Pima County Superior Court
Y se ordena que si logra depositar la fianza, la acusada debe presentarse en el Condado Superior del Condado Pima
for her fugitive warrant hearing set March 18, 2025, 2:30 p.m.
y eso será para la audiencia de prófugos del Condado Pima a la del 18 de marzo al 2025 a las 2:30 por la tarde en el Tribunal Superior del Condado Pima.
At this time.
¿Alguna pregunta, señora?
No,
No.
You are excused, ma'am. Thank you.
Puede retirarse, señora. Gracias.
And Mr. Davis, let's wait until the defendant. Want to make sure she doesn't have any additional questions before we excuse you, okay?
Certainly, Your Honor.
Okay, the defendant can be excused. Thank you.
Bien, puede retirarse, señora. Gracias.
And Mr. Davis, you can also be excused. Thank you for appearing today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'm not sure if the court was advised, Mr. or Mrs. Dana Gray
Okay.
has refused this morning.
Okay, so the court will order as to the defendant Dana Gray, the continuing Ms. Gray's matter to the afternoon session for initial appearances. Any other updates, jail? Okay, not hearing any of them. Okay, to go ahead and proceed then. Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Brennan John Lazinski.
Mr. Lazinski, we're here today on charges of assault, obstructing government operations, and disorderly conduct. These are misdemeanor offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Court understands that currently a probation hold on Mr. Lazinski. Is that correct, Jail?
Yes.
Okay. So in order to provide you time credit for the underlying misdemeanor offenses, the court is going to order setting bond in this matter in the amount of $500 cash is secured. Court will order as release conditions as to these misdemeanor offenses, no acts of domestic violence and no firearms or weapons. Gary Grinkowicz is appointed to represent you as to the misdemeanor matters. And you have a court hearing set tomorrow, 1:00 p.m. So it's March 14, 2025, 1:00 p.m. at the Justice Court. If you are still incarcerated, you'll be made available in all likelihood virtually for that arraignment set at 1:00 p.m. tomorrow. Sir, did you have any questions at this time?
No.
Okay, then you're excused. Thank you very much. Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Ian Michael.
Mr. Taylor, the court is seeing you today on a warrant that was issued by Judge Kramer out of the Maricopa County Superior Court on March 5th, 2025. There are some underlying felony offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and there is counsel seated next to you to assist you. The court does show that you do have pending felony charges, I believe, in Superior Court here in Pima County. The arrest warrant set bond in the amount of $75,000. I'm not clear as to, let me just take a look at one thing really quick.
The bond's all right.
Okay. I don't have enough information about the Maricopa County case in order to determine the severity of the charges, what happened in that particular matter. In light of that, what the court's going to do is the court is going to set bond in this matter as to the warrant in the amount of $10,000 cash is secured. Any prior release conditions are affirmed. We're going to set you for what's called a review hearing as to the status of local matters and whether you can be sent up to Maricopa County to deal with these aggravated assault charges. Your next review hearing in the Justice Court is going to be next month. It's going to be April 14, 2025, 9:00 a.m. If you're still, if the charges here are still pending, you're likely just going to review the case at that time, receive another court date to check in to make sure that you're not, to see whether you've been transported up to Maricopa County. If charges resolve here and then you're transferred up to Maricopa County before the April 14 hearing, then that hearing is not going to happen. It's going to be vacated. Do you have any questions, sir, at this time?
Yeah, I'm still a little confused about everything. So you're saying if I'm pretrial services lets me out or something, then I'm to go to Maricopa, or they're gonna come get me?
They'll come get you.
Okay.
Yeah, so they got to resolve this one locally first, and then once that's done, Maricopa County is going to have you transferred up there. And I've reduced bond right now from 75,000 to 10,000, not knowing the exact nature of the charges. If Judge Kramer is assigned to the case and he makes a different decision, that's going to be up to him about bond. But you'll have to work that out with the court once you're up there. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You're excused.
Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. Can you state your name, please?
Casey Wadsworth.
Ms. Wadsworth, we're conducting what's called a review hearing today to review the status of your incarceration here in Pima County. There is a pending charge for forgery out of the, what I believe to be the Nogales Justice Court. Since you're still here, that means that local matters have not resolved. And so the court's going to just inform you about your next review hearing in this matter, April 14, 2025, 9:00 a.m. So about 1 month from today here at the Justice Court. If you're still in custody here in Pima County for any local matters, then we'll review your case at that time. If you've resolved all local matters and then already are picked up by the Nogales authorities, then that hearing here on April 14 will be vacated. Do you have any questions at this time?
No, sir.
Okay, that's all we need to do today. So you are excused. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Oops, actually. Yeah. Is Wadsworth done? Yes.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Ryan Cook.
Mr. Cook, we have you here today for an initial appearance on a charge of interfering with judicial proceedings. This is a misdemeanor offense. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of the information before the court is going to order that you be released on your promise to appear at future proceedings. There are going to be some conditions of release. Don't engage in any acts of domestic violence. And additionally, no contact at present with the individual Joseph Cook. The court will set your next hearing in this matter as to this specific charge, April 9, 2025, 10:00 a.m. at Marana City Court. So make sure that you appear at that hearing on April 9 as to this specific charge. Failure to appear could result in a warrant being issued. Do you have any questions, sir, at this time?
What does that charge consist of, sir?
The information before the court in the complaint is that you reached out to an individual who had an order of protection against you, and that contact technically violated the order of protection. From reading the complaint, it sounds like the court understands why you may have reached out, but it was a technical violation of the order to do that. So the court is, that's why you're facing that charge. You'll have an opportunity to address the matter further with the city court, though.
I just everything on record that's incorrect because I didn't reach out to my father. He called me on my cell phone. He reached out to me.
Okay. So
Talking to the judge, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm getting interrupted by this lady that has no respect or no concern for anything. Can you please be quiet? Thank you.
So, sir, let me just tell you, first of all, that is a defense attorney. Right, sir, listen, okay? That is a defense attorney who's here to assist individuals. She's actually going to be writing down your court dates for you. The court,
April 9th.
yeah, and additionally, it's disrespectful to the court for you to act in the way that you have so far on today's date. If you continue to do that, the court's going to find you in direct criminal contempt of court and sentence you to incarceration. Am I clear?
Okay, that's clear, but she interrupted me while I was talking to you.
Okay, so just so we're clear, no further disrespect to the defense attorney. Is that understood?
If she doesn't disrespect me, there'll be no disrespect.
Okay, you're skating on thin ice, Mr. Cook. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, all right. So your next court date, April 9, 2025, 10 o'clock a.m. Be there at the city court. If you dispute the nature of the charges, that is what the criminal process is for. At this time, you're excused. Thank you.
Right.
Sorry, Miss Adams. That's you didn't deserve that.
That's no problem. Thank you.
Jet.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Joseph C. Jet DeForest.
Mr. Jet, we have you here today on failure to appear as to 3 separate offenses, misdemeanor offenses for drug paraphernalia possession.
Yes, sir.
And then there are 2 prior instances of failure to appear. A warrant was issued by Marana Municipal Court. So you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. To ensure your appearance at future proceedings, the court is going to set bond in this matter, $350, cash is secured. Court will appoint Janet Altschuler to represent you in this matter. You will have an opportunity on today's date, March 13, 2025, 12 o'clock p.m. for a case management conference with the Marana City Court to resolve these charges and appear, and then hopefully from there, you may be able to articulate a request for modified conditions and or release. So that is your next court date, sir. If you are able to bond out in the next couple of hours and you still need to appear at that hearing, March 13th at 12 o'clock p.m. Do you have any questions, sir, at this time?
Nope.
Okay, you're excused. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Hector Ortiz. Downstairs. That's how it was. Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Hector Ricardo Ortiz.
Mr. Ortiz, we have you here today for just one moment. 2 charges, misdemeanor charges for interfering with judicial proceedings and also a DUI charge. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. The court does have a victim on the line, I believe, on your behalf. Mr. Ortiz, do we have Ms. Ortiz present?
Yes, I am here.
And what would you like to say to the court?
You know, Your Honor, my son needs help. My son has been abusing alcohol. He goes through these binge drinkings where he will binge drink day and night, heavy alcohol, consumption for a whole week. He can go a whole week, and then he's sober for 2-3 days, and then he starts up and he tells me, I do not want to do this, Mom. I don't. I want to be there for my children. He has 2 small children, a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old here with me living. And he is the only parent that takes care of these children. His wife left. He's only had them like 6 times since October of last year. So they only rely on Hector to take care of these children. They cry for him. They want to see their daddy, but their daddy can't keep himself sober. He is in an outpatient intensive rehab, which he hasn't gone for a whole month to. And his counselor there says he needs inpatient rehab. And Hector refuses to go because he says he's not an alcoholic. Hector started using drugs on top of alcohol now to cope with whatever stress he's going through. Work gave him time off so he can attend this rehab, and he's not taking advantage. So what I'm asking is if you can force them to please go to inpatient rehab and get help for his sake and his children's sake. Hector has been hospitalized a few times because he is so intoxicated. His work of breathing really goes down. So I just need help for him, and I don't know how to get help.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ortiz, for your comment.
Yeah.
So just take a look at one thing really quick, and then we will go forward. Okay, Mr. Ortiz, on today's date, the court is going to be ordering that you be released on your promise to appear at future proceedings. There are going to be several conditions of release, and let me tell you what those are right now. You're not to drive without a valid license. You're not to have or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. Commit no acts of domestic violence, no firearms or weapons. Most importantly, you need to obtain an evaluation for inpatient substance abuse treatment following your release. And again, if failure to do that can be deemed a violation of your conditions of release and you can be reincarcerated. The court in this instance views, given all the circumstances presented by the victim who spoke today, that people need you, Mr. Ortiz, and you need to be on your best behavior and doing the right thing for them. And I'm thinking in particular about those children. Those children may be subject to juvenile dependency proceedings if you don't get your act together. So I hope that this is a wake-up call. And so obtaining inpatient substance abuse treatment seems like a proper mechanism and channel for you to get the help that you need. It is going to be an order of the court that you pursue that. If you don't do that, that can be deemed a violation. I'm actually going to put a time limit on that. We're going to do that. You need to get that evaluation done within 30 days of today's date. Okay, court will set your next hearing as an arraignment with the Pima County Justice Court, March 24th, 2025, 10:30 a.m. Make sure that you appear at that hearing. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued. Do you have any questions at this time, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then you're excused. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and you're excused, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Christian, you're on Barber.
Mr. Barber, you're here today for an initial appearance. Let me pull up your charges. For one charge of criminal damage, this is a misdemeanor offense. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. We do have a victim, I believe, on the phone. Ma'am, do you want to be heard?
Your Honor.
And can you go just identify yourself first and last name?
My name is Isabel Chafee.
Ms. Chafee, what would you like to tell the court?
So with the whole situation that had happened, with the damages that were done, I went yesterday and I got quotings for all of it. In total, with all the damages that were done, is about $1,600. And I would like to be placed to that money back for the damages that were done, because with the damage done, there is no insurance on any of it. And yeah.
Okay. Anything additional that you want to?
And I'm also in the mix.
Go ahead.
I'm also in the mix. I'm getting a restraining order tomorrow morning on him.
Okay. Anything else that you'd like the court to know at this time?
No, that would be all.
Thank you. Just one moment as I review one more thing. Okay, at this time, Mr. Barber, the court is going to order that you be released on your promise to appear at future proceedings with some conditions of release. You're not to consume or possess any alcohol or illegal drugs. You're not to commit any acts of domestic violence, not to have any contact of any kind with the victim, Isabel Chafee, until further court order. Ms. Chafee, the issues you raised regarding damage, that will likely be addressed in the form of restitution at time of a judgment being entered by the court. And so hang on to that information, and a victim's representative will likely reach out to you in the future for you to present that information, okay?
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Barber, you are being released, but you do have pending court hearings. The next court hearing you have, April 8th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. That's going to be at Tucson City Court with Judge Millian. Make sure that you appear. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued. Do you have any questions at this time?
What was the date? You said the 4th?
April 8th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at City Court.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. You're excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Free to hang up.
Stacy Dupont. The yield.
Instinct. Good morning. Good morning, Matt. Can you state your name, please?
Stacy Dupont.
Ms. Dupont, we have you here today on some newer charges of looks like criminal damage, assault, and disorderly conduct. We also have several prior failures to appear for charges arising in 2024 out of the Tucson City Court. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of the information before the court to ensure your appearance at future proceedings, the court is going to set bond in this matter, $250 cash or secured. The release will include not to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, not to commit any acts of domestic violence, not to possess any firearms or weapons, no contact of any kind with the alleged victims. City Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent you, and your next court date is March 20th, 2025, 1:45 p.m. for video review. That will be with Judge Blue over at City Court. Do you have any questions at this time? Okay, then you're.
Donald Kennedy.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Donald Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy, we have you here today on counts of criminal damage, 3 counts of disorderly conduct, and as well interference with access to a telephone. These are misdemeanor offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of information before the court is going to order on today's date that you be released on your promise to appear at future proceedings. There are some conditions of release: not to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, not to commit any acts of domestic violence, no contact of any kind with the alleged victims, and that would be Deborah Michaud and Sylvia Brown. In the event that you share a residence with either of these individuals, the court is going to authorize that you can return one time with law enforcement to retrieve your personal belongings. Your next court date in this matter is at the City Court, April 24th, 2025, 9:30 a.m. That is your next court date as to these charges. Make sure that you appear. Failure to appear will result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Do you have any questions, sir, at this time?
No, sir, Your Honor.
Okay, then you are excused. Thank you, sir.
Donald Kennedy, and then Moss James, Daniel. Daniel Moss James, are you? Sir, face the street for the judge.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Daniel Moss.
Mr. Moss James, this is the time for your initial appearance. You have some pending charges for disorderly conduct, drug paraphernalia possession, and criminal damage. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of information before the court is going to order that you be released on today's date as to these charges. However, you do have some conditions of release. not to possess or consume alcohol or illegal drugs, no acts of domestic violence. Your next court date in this matter is April 8th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. And that will be with Judge Millian at City Court. Do you have any questions, sir, at this time? Any questions, sir?
No, I have no questions, man. Come on. Christ, man.
Okay, then you're excused. Thank you, sir.
Solis Hernandez.
Good morning, ma'am. Can you state your name, please?
Lidia Solis Hernandez.
Ms. Solis Hernandez, you're here today on 2 counts of assault and disorderly conduct. These are misdemeanor offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of information before the court is ordering that you be released on today's date, but there are going to be some conditions of release. Specifically, court is going to order that you not possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, commit no acts of domestic violence, not possess any firearms or weapons. I want to make sure that I have there's an individual that's alleged in this matter by the name of Jesus Franco. Is that name familiar?
Yes.
Okay, so that you're not to have any contact with the individual Jesus Franco until further court order, not to go to his residence or workplace. Your next court date in this matter is a pretrial hearing, April 8th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. And that is at City Court with Judge Millian. Make sure that you appear at that court date. Failure to appear will result in a warrant being issued. Do you have any questions at this time?
No.
Okay, then you're excused. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I am using 2 devices because there seems to be some bottleneck on the connection speed this morning.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, can we waive reading of the charges for Mr. Cora Lopez?
Yes. Did you want the same for Mr. Young?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll indicate for the record for defendants Young and Cora Lopez, the court will waive reading. I show we have Mr. Young coming in next.
They're doing keep search and for years. Yeah. What they do is seeing for it.
Okay, good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please? Is the jail able to hear us?
We can hear you, Your Honor.
Yes, you did. No.
You know, I just can't hear the defendant. Can you repeat that, sir?
No.
Is the jail able to confirm the identity of the defendant?
Yes, say it louder. No.
Are you Michael Romero, sir?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we just had the cases out of order. Just give me one moment. Okay, so Mr. Romero, we have you here for a couple of matters today. Essentially, you've been picked up on a couple of warrants that have been issued. First out of the Ajo Justice Court for failure to appear for criminal trespass and theft matters. We also have another warrant that was issued in December 2024 out of the Justice Court. And you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Just one moment. Looks like it appears that these are misdemeanor offenses. So, okay. Under the circumstances, the court is going to order setting bond in this matter as to the criminal trespass and theft in the amount of $100 cash or secured, and that's to secure the defendant's appearance. Court will order that the counsel will be appointed for Mr. Romero. Let's see which case this is out of Ajo. Let's see if we've got anybody for Ajo. Yes. Court will order that Jill Gukin be appointed to represent the defendant. Just give me one moment to fill out the information over here on this matter. Next court date as to the Ajo Justice Court matter, sir, will be March 18, 9:00 a.m. at the Ajo Justice Court. You should be made available at least virtually for that proceeding in order to resolve these criminal trespass and theft charges. Court will affirm any prior release conditions in that matter. And then we're going to proceed on to your other warrant after we finish this one. All right, and then so as to the additional warrant, this is for a failure to appear as to a misdemeanor count of reckless burning. Court is going to order setting bond in the amount of $100 cash is secured. Court will appoint Mr. Grinkowicz to represent you. Be Gary Grinkowicz. Next hearing. Just one moment. Let me set these hearings, and then I'll let you speak in just a moment. Next court date is going to be March 14, 2025, 1:00 p.m. So that's tomorrow, 1:00 p.m. for an arraignment in Justice Court as to the reckless burning matter that hasn't been resolved yet. Sir, did you want to say something? Okay. Doesn't appear that the defendant does want to make a statement at this time, so we'll go ahead. So those are your next court dates. Do make sure that you appear. You should be made available virtually for those hearings. And counsel has been appointed in both matters. Wait, actually, hold on. Yeah, because you are being held. So, okay. Thank you, sir. You can be excused at this time.
Your Honor, are you showing a Tucson City matter also?
We have a Tucson. Okay, let me double check. Yeah, you're right. We do. Let's hold on with getting him in the back. We'll just take care of the city court matter really quick. Okay, and so then, Mr. Romero, one more matter for you today. That's going to be failures to appear on several prior offenses for disorderly conduct, reckless burning, obstruction of a public thoroughfare, as well as some current charges of the obstruction, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. These are misdemeanor offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. To ensure appearance, court will set bond in the amount of $100 cash is secured. And court will appoint the city public defender's office to represent you in this matter. Next court date for the city court matters is going to be on March 21st, 2025, 1:45 p.m. for a video review, and your case is being assigned to Judge Cranshaw for further proceedings over at City Court. Okay, that should take care of those matters as well. Thank you, Mr. Romero. You are excused.
Hold your feet. Hold up.
And I'll give you this one.
Sure.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Jose Luis Lopez.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Jose Luis Lopez.
Okay, sir, you are here today on a couple of matters. We'll go ahead and take those one at a time. First matter you're here for is, well, the defense attorney has requested to waive reading. Is that as to all charges or just the single charge, the felony 4?
Just the felony.
Okay, and so then we have you on 2 matters today. The first matter is for some contemporary offenses of possession of narcotic drug, 2 counts, possession of a dangerous drug, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have a right to remain silent as to these felony charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you, sir. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and counsel is seated next to you to assist you. The state has some recommendations for bond in this matter. And let me pull those up right now. As to the underlying drug offenses, the state is recommending that you be released to the third-party supervision of pretrial services, and that you undertake what's called a steps hearing. Let me just make sure of something really quick before we proceed. Mr. Poston, the recommendation for the other charge appears to have bond instituted, so we're trying to treat these different?
Yes,
Okay.
given the nature of the other offense, state takes a very stern view of those.
And will the defendant be able to participate in the STEPS program if incarcerated?
If he posts bond,
Okay. So as to the drug offenses, the court has a recommendation to set a STEPS court hearing. Mr. Cora Lopez, what that means is there is a type of diversion program offered through the Superior Court, something called the STEPS program. And if you met all requirements, you could be released. I'm sorry, you could be, the charges could be excused against you as if they were never charged. Would you like to avail yourself of that diversion program for the drug charges?
This,
Okay. Ms. Adams, would the defendant waive time as to setting a preliminary hearing as to that?
As to the drug offenses, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So as to the drug offenses, the court will go ahead and order that the defendant is released to the third-party supervision of pretrial services. A preliminary hearing will be set out April 28th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Court will indicate that time is waived on the preliminary hearing. Steps hearing is set. This is the one at Superior Court, Mr. Cora Lopez, the one you have to attend in order to start availing yourself of the diversion services. That will be set March 20th, 2025, 9:00 a.m. And so make sure, and that's at Superior Court. So you have 2 dates, March 20th, 2025, 9:00 a.m. and April 28th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Make sure that you appear at future dates or a warrant could issue for your arrest. You do have a couple of conditions of release as to these matters. You have to no alcohol or illegal drugs and follow monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Finally, the Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent you in this matter. And so we'll go ahead and move to the next matter in this, and that is the matter for which we are waiving charges. Or I'm sorry, waiving a reading of the charges. The state's recommendation as to this particular charge is that you be held on a bond of $5,000 with release to pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
No, Judge.
And Ms. Adams, any record as to the setting of bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Cora Lopez has no failures to appear in the last 2 years. He is a lifelong resident of Tucson, and this was a non-violent offense. I would ask for release to pretrial services along so that he can appear for his steps hearing and participate in the steps program.
So given that the underlying charges don't implicate commission of an actual offense, and that the defendant's already being released on pretrial services for the other matters, the court over this objection, the state court's going to order release of the defendant to pretrial services. However, there are going to be conditions of release to follow monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. And this next one's crucially important, Mr. Cora Lopez. Please make sure that you listen in. You must report to the Pima County Sheriff's Department's identification unit at 1650 East Benson Highway, Suite D, within 2 business days of your release. So by the end of the day on Monday, you need to make sure that you've gone over to that unit to provide the proper registration and identification. If you don't do that, that's considered a failure to comply with court orders. You could be rearrested, and the next judge may not be as flexible with this. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So next court date, then preliminary hearing, then as to this charge is April 2nd, 2025, 1:30 p.m. It's April 2nd at 1:30. That date may change because you're being released on today's date. So keep in touch with the public defender's office, who again is appointed to represent you. Your public defender can clarify any future dates for you. Okay, sir? With that, you are excused. Thank you.
thank you. Reach.
Hold on.
Okay. All right.
If I send this back to you for the next one with counsel appointed, can you fill that in? For the next one number, yeah. Is that who's going to be assigned? Okay. Okay, good morning. Can you state your name, please?
Paul Tate Young.
Mr. Young, the defense counsel there has waived reading of the charges on your behalf, so we'll go ahead and proceed. If you have any clarification as to the charges, counsel can clarify that for you before you are excused today. But as to you are facing 5 felony charges before the court. The state is recommending bond be set in the amount of at least $200,000 plus release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
Yes, Your Honor. First, the state would like to note for the record the defendant rolling his eyes when the proposed bond amount was mentioned. Next, I will state this. 4 years old, tween, 3 years old, an infant, 5 years old. Post-Miranda admissions. This man is facing upwards of 120 years in the Arizona Department of Corrections. The forensic investigators noted that the account had his face on the avatar. No conditions of release are going to be capable of stopping him doing what he has done. No orders, no piece of paper is going to do anything. The piece of paper is moral restraint. The release conditions are moral restraint. There's nobody watching over him. They are useless in this case, Your Honor. He has no community ties. He just moved here. And given the file date of some of the material, it can truly be said that this person's actions fuel an industry that destroys everybody and everything it touches. Some of the documents look, even based on the metadata, that they were custom made for him. They may have been bespoke. They're so new. This person is the epitome of a flight risk. He admitted doing what he is alleged to have done post Miranda. $200,000.
Thank you, Mr. Post. Ms. Adams, any record on behalf of the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Young has had no prior convictions. He has no failures to appear. We'd ask for a much lower bond of, which is in your discretion, but 200,000 is so high as to be akin to no bond.
Your Honor, I would note for the record that based on my reading of the dangerousness statute, the state did very much consider invoking that.
Okay. At this time, the court will set bond in the amount of $200,000, cash is secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Court will order as conditions of release, follow monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Additionally, no contact with minor children by the defendant. Court will order appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent the defendant. Court will set preliminary hearing March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at the Justice Court. Mr. Young, make sure you appear at all future proceedings. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Any questions at this time?
No.
Okay, then you're excused. Thank you, sir. Okay, good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please? Looks like we have the feed muted. Can you go ahead and unmute, please? Great, thank you. Sir, can you repeat, please?
Yeah, good morning, Edgar Cruz.
Mr. Cruz, we have you here today on for initial appearance on felony counts of disorderly conduct with a weapon and misconduct involving weapons / prohibited possessor. These are felony offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and there is counsel seated next to you to assist you. The state is recommending bond be set in the amount of $10,000 with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
No, Judge.
And then Ms. Adams, any record on behalf of the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Cruz has no prior failures to appear. He's been a Tucson resident for 35 years. He's employed, and according to the pretrial service report, the alleged victim does not object to release. So we'd ask for release of pretrial services.
Judge?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would somewhat discount the victim's input when it comes to the prohibited possessor statute. Thank you.
Okay. Under the circumstances, court will set bond in this matter, $2,500 cash is secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Conditions of release will be no alcohol or illegal drugs, no acts of domestic violence, no firearms or weapons. Any firearms or weapons shall be surrendered. Follow monitoring and treatment as directed by pretrial services. No contact with the alleged victims. Do not go to their residences or workplace. If they happen to be a shared residence with any of the victims, that the defendant may return once to the police escort to pick up belongings. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent the defendant. Next court date is a preliminary hearing, March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at the Justice Court. That's March 24th at 1:30 p.m. Sir, failure to appear at future proceedings can result in a warrant being issued. If you're still incarcerated at time of the next hearing, you'll be made available virtually for that hearing. Any questions at this time?
No.
Okay, you're excused. Thank you, sir.
Emry.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Christopher Emry.
Mr. Emery, the court is seeing you today on a felony charge of theft of means by transportation. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel. Counsel is seated next to you to assist you. In this matter, the state is recommending that you be held without bond, subject to a no bond hearing. Mr. Poston, do you want to elaborate on the recommendation?
Your Honor, it appears he's on release in CR 2024-3097 and CR 2024-4797.
And Ms. Adams, do you want to be heard as to setting a bond?
Well, Mr. Emery has no prior felonies. He has no prior failures to appear. He's only 18 years old, and his mother is expressed that she was willing to take third-party custody of Mr. Emery. We'd ask for release of pretrial services.
Just one moment.
Be advised, anyone who has the Explorer King 991.
Just looking up one more thing, almost ready. At this time, the court is going to order holding the defendant without bond. No bond hearing is set March 18, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. at Pima County Superior Court. Preliminary hearing tentatively also set March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Court will order as conditions of release, monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, because, well, actually, no, we're going to skip that because no assignment to pretrial services has been made. Court is going to order as a condition of release, do not go to incident location, although the court does note defendant is currently being held without bond. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent the, let me just double check on something. Do we need to do legal defender in light of that, or does it matter? I'm just thinking, never mind, I'm thinking of something else. So yeah, so Pima County Public Defender is appointed to represent the defendant. Although we do have, it looks like we already have counsel designated anyway, so it'll probably could be the same attorney. So yeah, next court dates then March 18, 2:30 p.m. at Superior Court, March 24th, 1:30 p.m. at Justice Court. Any questions, sir, at this time?
No.
Okay, then you're excused. Thank you very much.
Green.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Case Green.
Mr. Green, we have you here today on a count of tampering, domestic violence / tampering with a witness. This is a Class 6 felony. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. The state is recommending, and you do have a right to assistance of counsel. Counsel is seated next to you to assist you. The state is recommending that you be held without bond in this matter, given that you already released on an existing felony matter. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
No, Judge.
And then Ms. Adams, any record for the court at this time?
Can I have one moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Your Honor, Mr. Green has no prior convictions. He has no prior failures to appear. He's employed full-time and he's been a Tucson resident for 19 years. We'd ask for release to pretrial services.
Okay, this time court is going to order holding the defendant without bond at this time. No bond hearing is set. March 18, 2025, 2:30 p.m. at Superior Court. Additionally, a preliminary hearing is set March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at the Justice Court. And then at the no bond hearing on March 18, the defendant will be able to articulate a request for bond. What's factoring into the court's decision is that the offenses that are alleged now appear to be directly potentially affecting resolution of the matter in CR 2024-0748. So that's the court's concern that being released at this point is going to further compromise the resolution of that case. The conditions of release, when release is eventually granted, no contact with any alleged victims. It did not go to the victim's residence or workplace. Christian Kiminaw is appointed to represent the defendant in this matter. Okay, couple of hearings set. Any questions, Mr. Green, at this time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then you're excused. Thank you, sir. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. We may have let me double check. We may have something else here. What is that? Yeah, we have it. That's it. So we have a city court matter. Sorry, Mr. Green. We got one more thing for you today. It looks like there's a warrant that was issued out of, it was issued April 22nd, 2024 by the city magistrate, requested by the city magistrate. Looks like it's essentially, it's arrest warrant issued for charges of assault and disorderly conduct for fighting. These offenses would have occurred. There was a complaint filed March 26, 2024. And it appears there was an arrest warrant issued based upon these charges. Okay, so in general, as to these matters before the court it does advise you, Mr. Green, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You are being held already as to the incident matters. The court is just, in order for you to get time served, the court's going to order that set bond in the amount of $50 cash or secured as to the city court offenses. Court will order as conditions of release in that matter that you not possess any alcohol or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, commit no acts of domestic violence, no firearms or weapons, no contact with any victims. And court will appoint the city public defender's office to represent you. Next court date in that matter is going to be March 19, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at the Tucson City Court for video review, and that'll be with Judge Millian. Okay, so that's the city court matter. So we have no bond hearing March 18. We have the city court matter March 19 at 1:30. And then there's also the preliminary hearing in Justice Court March 24, 2025. With that, any questions, Mr. Green?
Sir.
Your Honor, was the public defender's office appointed for the felony matter?
For the felony matter, yeah, Mr. Kavanaugh is representing, so we appointed him. So he is affirmed on that one. City public defender in the city court matter is appointed to address these new charges.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. You're excused. Good morning, sir. Could you state your name, please?
My name is Eric Allen Hamill.
Mr. Hamill, you're here today on a felony count of weapons misconduct for prohibited possession. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel. There is counsel seated next to you to assist you. State is recommending bond be set in the amount of $15,000 plus release to pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, he's got for a prohibited possessor and a search incident to arrest yielded a firearm. His Second Amendment rights have not been restored. It's pretty cut and dry.
Okay, thank you. And then any record, Ms. Adams?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Hamill has no failures to appear in the last 2 years. His brother expressed that he's willing to take third-party custody of Mr. Hamill. He is a longtime Pima County resident, and his last conviction was from 10 years ago. This was a nonviolent offense. We'd ask for release to pretrial services.
Just one moment, just looking over a couple things really quick. Time the court, over objection, the state court will order release to pretrial services. Mr. Hamill, the crucially important that you follow the conditions of release. No firearms or weapons. No, you must surrender any firearms still in your possession following monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent you in this matter. And next hearing is going to be April 2nd. 2025, 1:30 p.m. So even though you're being released, you do still have this charge to resolve, and this is a felony offense. I do note that you have a prior charge for this from approximately 13 years ago, which is factoring into the court's decision. And so, yeah, that next court date, April 2nd, 1:30 PM for preliminary hearing. That may in fact move because you are being released. So check in with your public defender about that to see if the date is moved, and they will advise you of any future hearings as well. Do you have any questions, sir, at this time?
Okay.
Let me make sure we have nothing else for you today. I think we're good. So you are excused. Thank you, sir.
Counselor left. Oh, yeah.
Okay, good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Dante Herbert.
Mr. Herbert, we have you here today on disorderly conduct involving reckless discharge of a deadly weapon. This is a felony offense. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In this matter, the state is recommending bond be set in the amount of $25,000 plus release to pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, the state would like to emphasize the absolute irresponsibility of this very, very dangerous crime. We all know that there are laws in Arizona that tie absolute liability for somebody who fires a bullet in the air and hitting somebody on the ground. And obviously what comes up needs to come down, and it's just dumb luck that we're not looking at a homicide here. It's incredibly dangerous to the community. $25,000.
Thank you, Mr. Poston. Ms. Adams, any record for the court?
Yes, Judge. This was designated according to pretrial services a non-violent offense. He has no prior convictions, no prior failures to appear. He is a lifelong Tucson resident. He's only 18 years old. And his father expressed that he's willing to take third-party custody of Mr. Herbert. We ask for release to pretrial services.
Okay. At this time, over the objection of the state, court will order release to pretrial services. Mr. Herbert, I agree with the state that you are incredibly lucky that the firing of any firearms, assuming that it happened, did not cause the injury of anybody. You strike me, you just turned 18. You strike me as somebody who may or may not have made a bad decision. You don't have to answer that because you have a right to remain silent. But let me just tell you now, you have an opportunity with this release from pretrial services to make better decisions going forward. I hope that you do that. If you're wrapped up in the wrong crew or there's individuals who have an improper influence on you, just know that these are the probable results of what happened. You're an adult now. You will be charged as an adult for any future proceedings. If you continue to use firearms or commit acts which place the community at risk, the next judge who sees your case may have no hesitation whatsoever in having you remain in jail on a lengthy bond. So I'm not asking you to acknowledge anything as true that I just said, but are you hearing what I'm saying, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The court does have conditions of release: no firearms or weapons. Any firearms or weapons that are still in your possession shall be surrendered to local law enforcement. You must follow monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent you, and your next court date is a preliminary hearing, April 2nd, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. with the Justice Court. That hearing may move. Keep in touch with your Public Defender's Office, and they'll notify you about any updates regarding future court dates. But nonetheless, if you don't appear at a court date, it is on you to make sure you know what the dates of your court hearings are, and a warrant could issue if you don't go to a future court date. Do you have any questions, sir, at this time?
No, sir.
Okay, then you're excused. Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Hayden Lee LeMay, good morning, Your Honor.
Morning. So, Mr. LeMay, we have you here today on a couple of felony charges of possession of a narcotic drug and possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel. There is counsel seated next to you to assist you. In this matter, the state has recommended that you be released to the third-party supervision of pretrial services and also engage in something called the STEPS program at the court. The STEPS program is a diversion program that if you're fully compliant with the requirements, the charges may end up being dismissed as if they were never charged. Are you interested in that program?
Yes, sir, I am.
And do you believe that you'll be able to comply with the conditions of that program?
Yes, sir.
Any additional record first, Mr. Poston
No, Judge.
and Ms. Adams?
No, Your Honor, we agree with release to pretrial services.
And does the defendant waive time for the the preliminary hearing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, at this time, the court will order releasing the defendant to the third party supervision of pretrial services. Court will set as conditions of release, however, no alcohol or illegal drugs. Follow any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. As indicated, time is waived for the preliminary hearing. The court is appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent the defendant. Couple of court dates coming up for you. First, Mr. LeMay, you have the steps hearing at Superior Court for a smart court hearing, March 20th, 2025, 9 o'clock a.m. So it's March 20th at 9 o'clock. Make sure that you appear at that hearing. Additionally, you have a preliminary hearing that has been set out April 28th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Since you are being released, it's possible that that date may be pushed out, but keep in contact with your public defender for further updates on court dates. Do you have any questions, sir, at this time?
Oh, Your Honor, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. You're excused. Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
David Mullinar.
Mr. Mullinar, you're here today on several felony charges of possession of narcotic drugs, possession of dangerous drugs, possession of drug paraphernalia, and also aggravated DUI. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel. Counsel is seated next to you to assist you on today's date. The state is recommending that bond be set in the amount of $10,000 with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. And Mr. Poston, any additional record?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Adams, any additional record on behalf of the defendant?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Mullinar has no failures to appear in the last 6 years. He's a lifelong Tucson resident. His sister expressed that she'd be willing to take third-party custody of Mr. Mullinar. He has no prior DUIs, and his last conviction was from over 10 years ago. We'd ask for release to pretrial services.
Court will indicate for the record that in review of the NCA and FTA scales, it's a 5 and 4 respectively. Given everything the court's looking at on today's date, I do find that there is some danger to the community posed by the defendant. The court will set bond in this matter, however, at a reduced amount, $2,500 cash is secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Conditions of release will include do not drive without a valid license, no alcohol or illegal drugs, monitoring or treatment is directed by pretrial services. Pima County Legal Defenders office is appointed to represent the defendant. And we have the next court date in this matter, preliminary hearing, March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Mr. Mullinar, if you do post bond, you still need to appear at future proceedings. Keep in touch with your legal defender to make sure that you're apprised of your future court dates. A warrant will issue for your arrest if you don't appear at future court dates. Any questions at this time?
No, Your Honor.
You're excused. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Patterson.
While we're waiting for Mr. Patterson, do we have a federal hold on Mr. Patterson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Mr. Patterson, can you go ahead and introduce yourself first and last name? Mr. Patterson, we have you here today on just actually one moment. Okay. All right. So we have you here today on for an initial appearance on several felony counts, theft of means of transportation, burglary in the 3rd degree, possession of burglary tools, and possession of narcotic drug. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel. Counsel is seated next to you for your assistance. The court was verifying on today's date that whether there was what's called a federal hold on you for it appears that there was a probation term that was issued by the United States District Court. It appears that there is such a hold. In light of that, regardless of what the court would be inclined to do a bit today about release, you are going to be still held regardless of any release decision by the court. So we're going to talk about what bond should be instituted nonetheless, if any. Mr. Poston has indicated through the state's recommendation that bond be set in the amount of $7,500 plus release to pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Adams, any additional record?
Yes, Your Honor, we'd ask for a in light of the federal hold, we just ask for a nominal bond of $1,000.
Okay. Well, just give me 1 minute. All right. There is extensive prior criminal history, including many of these same types of offenses. NCA, FTA is 4 and 3 respectively. Court will, in light of all the circumstances, court will set bond in the amount of $5,000 cash or secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Conditions of release will include no alcohol or illegal drugs, monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, no contact with any alleged victims, and also not to go back to any incident locations. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent the defendant. Preliminary hearing is set at the Justice Court, March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. And that'll be the next proposed hearing in this matter. Mr. Patterson, make sure you appear at future court dates. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued. You have a federal detainer that needs to be resolved anyways by the district court. So even if you post bond in this matter, it is likely that you'll still be held incarcerated until that detainer is resolved by the federal court. I don't have any control about when that will happen. Speak to your public defender further about any questions you may have on all of that, but do you have any questions at this time? Okay, then you're excused. Thank you, sir.
Raise your hand.
Okay, good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Hello, Reyes.
Mr. Reyes, we have you here today on a couple of felony counts, possession of narcotic drug and possession of narcotic drug paraphernalia. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel. Counsel is seated next to you to assist you. Can the court, the jail confirm, do we have a probation hold on Mr. Reyes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so what that means, Mr. Reyes, is that bail probation is requested to place a hold on you so that even if the court was to release you on today's date, the court, or even if you post bond in this matter, if bond is set, you won't be able to be released until a probation lifts that hold. The state is recommending bond be set in the amount of $10,000 plus release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
No, Your Honor.
And Ms. Adams, any additional record?
Yes, Your Honor, we just asked for a nominal bond in light of the probation hold of $500.
Okay. Court will set bond in this matter in the amount of $1,000 cash or secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Conditions of release if bond is posted, no alcohol or illegal drugs, follow any monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent the defendant. Next court date in this matter would be a preliminary hearing at the Justice Court, March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Mr. Reyes, in the event that you do find yourself out of custody, make sure that you do go to all future dates. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued. While you are still incarcerated, the jail will make arrangements for you to be at future court dates. Do you have any questions at this time?
No.
Okay, you're excused. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, Robinson.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Yes, sir. It's Chad Douglas Robinson.
Mr. Robinson, we have you here today on a charge of possession of narcotic drugs, which is a class 4 felony. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and counsel is seated next to you for your assistance. The state is recommending on this matter that you be released to the third-party supervision of pretrial services and that a steps hearing be set, which is a type of diversion program. Is that still the state's recommendation, Mr. Poston?
Yes.
Okay, and then Ms. Adams, any additional record as to setting a steps hearing?
No, Your Honor, we agree with release of pretrial services.
Okay, let me just check in with the defendant, Mr. Robinson. Steps is a type of diversion program with the Superior Court where you could potentially have these charges dismissed and as if they were never filed. Do you want to avail yourself of that program?
Yes, sir, I do.
And if we set a hearing on March 20th, in that case, can you get to the Superior Court and attend future proceedings?
I can, yeah.
Okay. And does the defense waive time as to preliminary hearing?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so the court will order at this time releasing the defendant to the third-party supervision of pretrial services. Further ordered as conditions of release, no alcohol or illegal drugs following monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. Court will appoint the Pima County Legal Defender's Office to represent the defendant, and time is waived as to the preliminary hearing. Next court dates, the steps hearing is set March 20th, 2025, 9:00 a.m. at the Superior Court in Pima County. Additionally, preliminary hearing is set out April 28th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. And Mr. Robinson, make sure that you appear at future proceedings. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued. Any questions at this time?
No, sir.
Okay, then you can be excused. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Smith.
Yes.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Derek Anthony Smith.
Mr. Smith, we have you here today on a felony count of burglary in the second degree. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and counsel is seated next to you for your assistance. The state is recommending bond be set in the amount of $7,500 plus release to pretrial services. And then, Mr. Poston, any additional record?
One moment. The state would note the NCA FTA.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Adams, any record on behalf of the defendant?
One moment, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, Mr. Smith has no prior failures to appear. He has been a Tucson resident for 9 years. He is employed full-time, and this was a non-violent offense. We would ask for release of pretrial services.
Well, the court's concerned in this matter about the underlying circumstances, the existence of tribal court matters and prior orders that the defendant not go back to this residence. It appears to have happened again, allegedly, but nonetheless. Court finds that there is danger posed to the community, and if the defendant was to be released on today's date without bond being set, court will set bond $2,500. Cash is secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Additionally, defendant is ordered to follow monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, no contact with the alleged victims, and do not go to the incident location. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent the defendant. Preliminary hearing set March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at Justice Court. That'll be the next scheduled hearing in this matter. Mr. Smith, make sure that you go to future hearings in this matter. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued. Any questions at this time?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
No questions.
Then you can be excused when you're ready. Thank you. Morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Christopher Joseph Sovereign.
Mr. Sovereign, we have you here today on several felony charges: burglary in the third degree, theft, criminal damage, and trafficking in stolen property. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have a right to assistance of counsel. There is counsel seated next to you to assist you. State is recommending that bond be set in this matter in the amount of $15,000 plus release to pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
I just noticed the defendant's absolutely extensive history of vehicle theft, out-of-time theft, as well as extensive prison time.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Adams, any record on behalf of the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Sovereign has no failures to appear in the last 2 years. He's been in Tucson for 20 years. He's employed. This was a nonviolent offense. We'd ask for release to pretrial services.
Just one moment as I review something. Okay. This time, court will set bond in the amount of $7,500 cash is secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. Conditions of release will include follow monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services, and also that the defendant not go back to the incident location if bond is posted. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent the defendant. Next court date will be preliminary hearing, March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at the Justice Court. Mr. Sovereign, make sure you appear at all future hearings. Failure to appear can result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. Any questions at this time?
No, Your Honor.
And then you are excused. Thank you, sir. Okay, good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Trying to know, Warren.
Mr. Warren, we have you here on a couple of matters. We'll take them one at a time on today's date. First matters we're here for are an initial appearance as to felony charges of possession of a dangerous drug, possession of a narcotic drug, and possession of drug paraphernalia. These are felony offenses. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel, and counsel is seated next to you to assist you. State is recommending bond be set in the amount of $7,500 plus release to pretrial services. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, the state notes that the felony charges in this one are the drug charges. However, given all of the allegations, the state does believe that in the big picture, this defendant is a risk, as the pretrial folks would concur with an NVCA of yes. And 302 is on the lower end of things, but given all the circumstances, the state believes 7,500 is appropriate. Thank you.
And Ms. Adams?
Yes, Your Honor. This Mr. Warren has no prior felonies. He has no prior failures to appear. He's been a Tucson resident for 10 years, and it appears that the alleged victim does not object to release. We'd ask for release of pretrial services.
Just one moment. We're just getting some of the files transferred over here really quick. So just 1 second while we get that all worked out. All right. And then, okay. Let me just take a look at a couple things really quick and then we'll proceed. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure, which, we have the city court matters that we're gonna hear next. But. Uh. At this time, the court is going to set a bond in this matter, $1,500 cash is secured with release to pretrial services if bond is posted. The conditions of release as to the felony charges will include no alcohol or illegal drugs, no acts of domestic violence. Follow monitoring and treatment as directed by pretrial services. Pima County Public Defender's Office is appointed to represent the defendant. Next court date in this matter will be a preliminary hearing, March 24th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. at the Justice Court. And Mr. Warren, make sure that you appear at future court dates. You're going to get presented with another court date in the city court matter. Failure to appear in general can result in a warrant being issued for your arrest. We're going to move on now to the city court matter that's before the court. And in that matter, you are facing charges of assault, criminal damage, disorderly conduct, and DUI. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. In review of the information before the court is going to order setting bond in this matter. The amount of $500 cash are secured. Or conditions of release will include not to drive without a valid license, consume or possess no alcohol or illegal drugs, commit no acts of domestic violence, possess no firearms or weapons. And court will appoint the city public defender's office to represent you in this matter. Next court date is going to be March 21st, 2025, 1:45 p.m. And that will be before Judge Hamill at the city court. Okay, so a couple of court dates coming up. We have the date on city court, March 21st, 1:45. We also have the preliminary hearing is tentatively set March 24th. Any questions, sir, at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then you're excused. Thank you.
Williams?
Good morning, ma'am. Can you state your name, please?
Antonio Williams.
Ms. Williams, we have you here today. It looks like you're picked up based upon issuance of a warrant out of Pike County, Georgia. You do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. And you do have a right to assistance of counsel. Counsel is seated next to you. It's like we're looking at, there's several warrants issued out of NCIC. State is recommending bond set in the amount of $7,500 in this matter. Any additional record, Mr. Poston?
State would note the NCA FTA numbers being on the high side, and thank you very much.
And Ms. Adams, any record on behalf of the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Williams has no prior felony convictions. She's lived in Tucson for 10 years, and this was a non-violent offense. We'd ask for a release of pretrial services.
Okay. At this time, court will set bond in the amount of $2,500 cash that's secured. Court will set a fugitive warrant hearing on March 18, 2025, 2:30 p.m. at the Pima County Superior Court. And the defendant is ordered to appear in person for the fugitive warrant hearing. And that is if she posts bond before the hearing. And then otherwise virtual appearance is permitted in the normal course. Just typing something really quick and we'll go ahead and proceed. Okay, conditions of release if bond are posted is simply to follow, well, actually, I take that back. The court will appoint counsel, legal defender's office is appointed to represent the defendant in this matter. And the next court date, March 18, 2025, 2:30 PM. In setting this, the court is unclear whether there's been a conviction as to the pending charges in Georgia. Had a conviction for felony matter been established, the court would have set this no bond. But I just don't know that at this time, so that's why I've set bond in this matter. Any questions, Ms. Williams?
I've never been to Pima County. I don't even know what the charges is or what it's about.
The legal defender who's going to be appointed to represent you can help clarify that, but what I show on this warrant right now, the limited information I have, it's based upon larceny, entering an auto vehicle, and also criminal damage. This-
I never had my license. I don't drive.
I don't know the
Is
exact,
this-
so yeah, all I know is that there is this warrant issued. I have very limited information right now. Please speak to your legal defender about this and they may be able to work things out, okay? Okay, you're excused. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please? Can we go ahead and unmute, please, on that end? Sir, can you go ahead and state your name again?
Yazzy.
Mr. Yazzy, we have you here for a few matters today, so we'll take them one at a time. First matter is that there was a warrant issued by Judge Metzger out of Superior Court for failure to appear. And that says to an underlying charge of burglary in the 3rd degree. That's a class 4 felony. In general, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to assistance of counsel. Counsel is seated next to you to assist you. State's recommending bond be set in the amount of $1,000 as to the warrant, presumably to ensure appearance at the next hearing. Mr. Poston, any additional record?
No, Your Honor, the court is the state's of the same understanding as the court.
And Ms. Adams, any record for the court?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Yazzy has no prior felony convictions, and this was a non-violent offense. We'd ask for release to pretrial services.
At this time, the court will order setting bond in the amount of $1,000 cash and secured. Court will order relief affirming any prior relief conditions. Court will appoint the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent the defendant. Next court date is going to be March 20th, 2025 at 1:30 PM for an arraignment. If you're still incarcerated at that time, Mr. Yazzy, then you have to make sure you appear at that arraignment in person. And so otherwise you'll be made available virtually just like you are today. So that's March 20th, 1:30 for arraignment as to that burglary matter. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next issue before the court, and that is we have a warrant that was issued out of Maricopa County for what I show as 18 felony charges, which are unresolved as of now, for false statement to obtain benefits, theft, and fraudulent scheme and artifices. So you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. The previous warrant was issued in the amount of, I believe, let me double check. $1,500 for a secured bond by Judge Kramer at Maricopa County Superior Court. I don't believe that this issue is before the court. Did any counsel want to make a record as to this before I set bond?
No, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
Court, on this one, court's going to affirm the bond of $1,500 cash to secured. Mr. Yazzie, you have some local matters that need to get resolved in city court, which we'll talk about next. You also have this other burglary matter, so you'll likely be in Pima County for a little bit of time. If you remain incarcerated through time of this next hearing, then we're going to do what's called review hearings in justice court just to confirm that you're still at the Pima County Jail. Make sure you're not lost in the shuffle. So that review hearing is going to be set April 14, 2025, 9:00 a.m. at the Justice Court. Again, if you are still incarcerated in Pima County, we'll review your circumstances at that time to see whether you're still incarcerated. And so, yeah, bond is set in the amount of $1,500 cash to secured. And then we're going to go ahead and move forward with the last matter for today, which is the city court charges, which are pending. And for city court, we have prior failure to appear for disorderly conduct charges in 2023, as well as new charges, criminal damage, 2 counts, and also disorderly conduct. Finally, we have 2 additional counts of 2 other misdemeanor charges, which I think it's for disorderly conduct as well. So it looks like 3 total counts, disorderly conduct, 2 criminal damage. Again, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. As to based on the information before the court will set bond in this matter, give you time credit for these matters in the amount of $100, cash or secured. Court will appoint the city public defender's office to represent you. Court will order no acts of domestic violence, no alcohol or illegal drugs, and no contact with any stated victims. Let me just see if we have. Okay. And also not to go back to the incident location for the disorderly conduct. Next court date in city court will be a virtual video review, March 21st, 2025, 1:45 p.m. That'll be with Judge Verena over at city court. And so, Mr. Yazzy, a lot of court dates that we set for you on today's date, conditions of release. Do you need me to restate anything for you on today's date?
No, she wrote it all down.
Okay, so just keep close eye on that. Failure to appear at future hearings can result in a warrant being issued. So please make sure that you appear at future proceedings. And with that, we are going to conclude with your matters for today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, that should be the last matter for today. Thank you, everybody, for appearing. Thank you to counsel. Thank you to jail, pretrial.
You're the Tucson, my friend so dear. We gather today, it's crystal clear. From the streets of Congress to Mount Lemon's Peak, united we stand strong and sleek. Oh, Pueblo's pride, under the desert sun. From the barrios to the ranches, we are one. We walk hand in hand through the cactus and sand. Together we rise, tall and grand. Tucson is home, where hearts collide. In this vast country, where dreams reside. We lift our voices, let our spirits roam. In this melting pot, Tucson is home. In the shadows of the Catalina,s we unite. First light to the calm of night. Through trials and triumphs, together we grow. Tucson's love, forever we'll show. Arizona's gem, in the heart of the West. Tucson's diversity is simply the best. From the old missions to the modern flair, our culture and warmth we proudly share. Tucson is home, where hearts collide. In this vast country, where dreams reside. We lift lift our voices, let our spirits roam. In this melting pot, Tucson is home. In the shadows of the Catalyst, we unite. From dawn's first light to the calm of night. Through trials and triumphs, together we